Ayan, welcome po everyone to our Saturday habit po. Welcome po dun sa ating mga nanonood right now. Palaking ko lang ang aking face para kitang-kita niyo po ako. Ayan, maraming salamat po for joining us again this afternoon for another free webinar from Uprush. And this afternoon po, we will be discussing about HR and the gig economy. Naku, napakaganda po nitong topic na to dahil kani-kanina lamang po pagsilip ko sa Philippines HR Group ay meron pong discussion about moonlighting and freelancing. At saktong-sakto po sa topic natin ngayon dahil yan po ang magiging discussion natin for this afternoon. Pero bago pa po tayo mag-start, mag-hello lang po muna tayo do sa ating mga nanonood right now. Special hello po sa mga katatapos lamang umattend ng ating Understanding Mandatory Benefits kanina po. I hope marami po kayo natutunan doon sa naging discussion natin this afternoon. And I hope po na naging fruitful at naging nakatulong naman po sa inyo yung atin pong mga na-discuss about the different mandatory benefits. Ayan. So good afternoon po kay Miss Mitch Gumera. Isa po siya sa ating mga early birds. 4:56 pa lang po. Siya po ay nakatambay na. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Farida. Hello. Si Farida is one of our regular viewers here in our webinar po. Ayan, meron nag-angry emoticon sa akin. Hindi ko alam kung bakit. I hope maganda ang araw mo ngayon. Bakit kaya siya galit? Okay. Good afternoon din po. Good afternoon. Buenos dias. Good afternoon, Miss Michelle Moralion. Tinag niya talaga lahat ng mga kakilala niya. Maraming salamat po. Good afternoon, Miss Lalaine De La Rosa at sa mga friends niya sila Miss Vilma Aquino. Vilma, hello. Good afternoon. Rosalie Timoteo, good afternoon din po. Good afternoon, Amarisha. Good afternoon, Thea Santisteban. Sorry po, nahirapan ako doon. Good afternoon kay Miss Marineth Ragos. Good afternoon din po dun sa mga nanonood right now from the different Facebook groups. So yung mga nanonood po from Philippines HR Group and from Society for the Advancement of HR. Good afternoon po sa inyo. Doon sa ating speaker, sabi ni Miss Ronda Brin Santos, naway tama yung pagkaka-pronounce ko. Good afternoon din po. Miss Mary Jane Beltran, tinag din po niya lahat ng kanyang mga friends. Good afternoon po. Good afternoon, Paul Espina. Hello po. Good afternoon, Paul, and thank you for watching with us. Hello, Miss Merly Vapor. She's also watching with us right now. Maraming salamat po for joining us and maraming salamat po for making me feel like an artista. Ayan. Pasensya na po, if medyo hyper ako ngayon dahil napakasaya po ng aking araw. Natapos po namin ang Understanding Mandatory Benefits. At the same time, ang aming pong HR Bootcamp ay isa po sa mga pinaka-successful so far. Ang dami po umattend ng last HR Bootcamp. Hopefully, marami din po silang natutunan. Natapos din po kami the other day. Ano ba yung diniscuss namin the other? Refining your onboarding process. So I hope marami po natutunan yung mga umattend po ng ating back to back na mga webinars po. We still have upcoming webinars. So if you're interested po, tambay-tambay lang po sa page. Makikita nyo po dyan yung atin pong mga free and paid webinars. Ayan, good afternoon po doon sa mga punta pa lang po dito like sila Miss Ira Marie Isip, Miss Elsie Cas. Pag kayo po ay nanonood from the different Facebook groups, pakiclick lang po yun pong nakalagay na streamyard.com/Facebook para po maibigyan ng access si Facebook para naman po makita ko po ang inyong pangalan. Miss Merly Arceo, good afternoon po. Isa po sa ating mga usual na nanonood po ng ating mga free webinars. Ang daming bumabati ng good luck sa ating speaker right now. Ayan, pasensya na po kung ginalaw ko yung monitor kasi nagpa 5S po yung aking likod. So hindi ko po siya nakuha ko po yung reasoning na yun kay Sir Elbo, kay Sir Ray, yung huli po nating guest. So, ayan po. So, maraming salamat po. Yung sa mga hindi ko po nabati right now, mamaya babatiin ko po kayo. Huwag po kayong mag-alala. Good afternoon po sa lahat. Mga ka-join pa lang po dito, if it's your first time to join us for our free webinar, I would like to introduce Uprush to you. Uprush is an HR solutions and services provider. We provide managed recruitment service, managed payroll service, in-house and public workshops and webinars. We also provide HR consultancy toolkits and salary surveys. We have just recently launched our salary survey. So if you would like to be part of our salary survey, punta lang po kayo sa page ng Uprush para kayo po ay makapag-sign up and be one of our respondents. As a respondent, you get as much as 50% discount. Kung kayo po ay mas matagalan po ang subscription nyo po, you can get the copy of the salary survey for year 3 for free na po yun. And then we are also collating all of your HR stories. Kung kayo po ay merong magandang HR story, nakakatakot na HR story, inspirational na HR story, send nyo lang po sa amin yan. Basta something po na nangyari po sa inyo at sa tingin nyo makakatulong sa ibang tao. Share lang po yan doon po sa ating My HR Story. Hanapin nyo lang po doon sa page namin. Click nyo lang po yung link para ma-share nyo po yung inyo pong HR story. And we are about to launch a number of other services within the next few weeks. So watch out po kayo dyan kasi minsan po ay nagbibigay po kami ng mga free slots, free copies, at marami pa pong mga free. Meron din po tayong mga contest dun po sa ating page at sa ating pong group na Society for the Advancement of HR. Yung nanalo po last time, twice na po siyang nananalo, wala siyang nakakalaban. Napaghahalata na talaga naman pong tumatambay po siya madalas dun sa ating page. Kaya pag nag-post po kami ng question, ang bilis po niyang sumagot. Nakalimutan ko yung name nung guy, pero twice na po siyang nananalo. Out of the 3 contests that we have, twice na po siyang nanalo ng food vouchers from Food Panda. Ayan po. Sa mga nagtatanong po kung meron po bang HR Bootcamp Batch 14, yes po, meron po tayong Batch 14, last batch for this year. Punta lang po kayo dito po sa nakapost na QR code right now. So scan nyo lang po yan using your phone para po makita nyo po kung, ayan, para hindi wala nakaharap. Para po makita nyo po yung registration form, makapag-register po kayo at malaman nyo po yung details on how you can be part of HR Bootcamp Batch 14. As part of HR Bootcamp Batch 14 po, or as an attendee of our HR Bootcamps, kayo po ay magkakaroon ng gift certificate, food discount voucher from Food Panda. So yung mga HR Bootcamp Batch 13 po, antayan nyo po yan kasama pong ibibigay ng certificate of completion nyo po. So yung assignment nyo po, kalimutan ha. Para po makuha nyo yung certificate of attendance at yung inyo pong discount voucher para po kay Food Panda. Ayan po. Kung kayo po gusto niyo pong mapanood yung mga previews na HR webinars po natin, meron po yan. Pwede niyo pong makita doon po sa ating YouTube channel. Scan niyo lang po yung QR code right now para makapunta po kayo doon sa ating YouTube channel. Nandiyan po yung ating mga previews, free webinars, at yun pong ating mga episodes ng HR Bites. Tayo po ay nasa episode 6 na, if I remember correctly, or episode 5. Meron po tayong i-upload na video within the next few days po para naman po dun sa mga usual na nagtatanong na paano nga ba ako magiging isang mabuting HR professional. Ayan. So yun po. Hi po. Hi doon sa mga nag-hi. Hi doon sa aking dating staff, si Catherine Ancheta. Hello. Kumusta na? Matagal na tayong hindi nagkikita. Ano ba yan? Ang galing na Tagalog ko. Hi din po kay Miss Jackie Lui. Si Miss Jackie po was one of our speakers before doon po sa topic na employee engagement. Napakabenta po ng kanyang topic. Marami po talaga. Kahit nung sa topic din namin sa HR Cafe na siya po nag-handle, ang dami po talaga umaattend. And then, invite din po namin kayo on Monday. We have another 1-hour session at Society for the Advancement of HR as well as in the Uprush Facebook page. For 1 hour po, lahat, and I mean lahat, ng HR questions na mababato nyo sa amin within that 1 hour, sasagutin po namin yan. So kung kayo po ay nangangailangan po ng mabilisang sagot at wala po kayong malapitan, pwede po kayong tumambay sa aming page on Monday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Nandyan po ako, si Mika, si Michelle, si Bless. Tatry po ni Nika kung siya po ay makaka-attend, pero maganda po kung kami po ay magiging kumpleto lahat ulit for the first time. Ayan po. So ayan po, kung may mga questions po kayo, handa nyo po dyan at pwede po namin sagutin yan. Kung may question po kayo about HR and the gig economy, comment section naman po natin ilagay yan para masagot po natin yan maya-maya. Iimbitahan ko rin po kayo on the 27th. Babalik po ang ating Afford the Train. Ano ang maaabot ng 168 pesos mo? Ang ₱168 mo ay matutulungan ka na malaman kung paano mag-build ng sarili mong business. Tuturuan po namin kayo ng basics. Ano ba yung kailangan yung ano yung due diligence ang kailangan yung gawin, paano mag-register, ano yung mga documents na kailangan, paano mag-market, paano ang bookkeeping, napakahalaga po niyan. So yan po ay mga i-discuss po natin on October 27. Kung gusto niyo pong umattend, scan lang po ng QR code para kayo po ay maka-attend niyang, webinar po na 'yan, paid webinar po 'yan. So ang platform po natin diyan ay ang ating dependable and very much loved na si Zoom, ayan po. Kung gusto niyo pong mag-appear ang inyo pong mga banners at kayo po ay matawag during our presentation at ma-play po namin ang inyong mga videos at ma-share ang link sa inyong website. We have sponsorship packages. We have 3 different packages. You can be an event co-organizer like our current co-organizers right now, Move Up, 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 Social Geekers, and Wikineeks. And you can also be our event sponsor. Logos po, makikita po yung mga logos nyo, and links po ay ibibigay din po namin sa ating mga attendees. Or you can also be a silver sponsor. Ayan po, yun po yung pinakamababa namin. Or we have a better deal, be one of our speakers and you can promote whatever service event you have. Wag po kayo mahiya. Kahit kayo po ay training services provider din po, walang problema po. Pwede po kayong mag-promote sa amin. Be one of our speakers. Maglo-launch po kami ng sign-up sheet. Sign up po agad kayo pag na-launch po namin yon para kayo po ay maging part po ng aming pool of speakers for our free webinars at ma-promote niyo po ang inyong mga services, events, at kung ano man pong gusto niyo pong i-promote. At syempre, wag po nating kalimutan ang atin pong mga usual na tinutulungan or mga pinapa-announce po na pinanghihingi po ng tulong. Ayan. Si Andre po is the son of one of my very close friend, Doc Philip Budyongan. He was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. So if ever you would like to provide any kind of support, nandyan po yung mga numbers na kailangan nyo po para po kayo po ay makapagbigay ng support. Okay? At the same time po, one of our team members, si Miss Monica Nalda, so you might know her as the one na kung kayo po ay speaker, siya po yung nakakausap nyo at kung kayo naman po ay nanghihingi ng certificates, siya po yung nagbibigay noon. So, Monica's dad passed away last September 1, if I remember correctly. And they still have a lot of bills to settle because he passed away due to COVID. So kung gusto niyo pong tumulong, andiyan po yung GCash number at nandiyan din po ang ating BPI number para po makapagbigay po kayo ng any form of help po para po sa kanya. At sino ba itong babaeng ito na nasa harap natin ngayon? Kung kayo po ay, tumatawa po siya sa background ngayon actually. Kung kayo po ay madalas po sa Philippines HR Group at kung kayo po ay naka-attend ng mga face-to-face seminars po ng Philippines HR, siya po ay isa po sa mga core members po ng Philippines HR Group. Hindi po siya ganun naka-active right now because medyo busy sa work. But she used to be a very active part of Philippines HR Group. I've known her for quite a long time. Siya, ako, si Darwin ay matagal na pong magkakakilala. Huwag niyo na pong tanungin kung gaano katagal. Basta matagal. Okay? She's an HR practitioner for more than 20 years now. She's currently working with Velocity Solutions as an HR and talent acquisition supervisor. She's actually a moderator for a number of different FB groups, hindi lang po basta sa HR, pati rin po sa mga grupo ng Tears for Fears. Ayan, binuking kita, Joy. Okay, she has a bachelor's degree in industrial psychology from the Polytechnic University of the Philippines. And she also has masteral units in industrial psychology from the Rizal Technological University. She has been a freelancer for 10 years now, a part-time HR consultant, as well as an online contractor at Upwork and People Per Hour. She sees herself as a generalist, HR generalist by orientation, and has a CHRP from the International Federation of Professional Managers, which she was able to get last October 2017. So without further ado, let me introduce you all to one of my favorite HR persons and one of the people that I've worked with a number of times in the past and a very close friend of mine. Miss Joseline Alosbaños. Ayan. Joy, kumusta?
Hello.
Oo, medyo binuking kita dun sa iyong Tears for Fears. Hindi pa kita binubuking dun sa iba mo pang pinapanood at sinusubaybayan at mga
Yeah,
hobbies.
to give you an idea, I have been a nature practitioner for how many years? As in, lahat na yata ng industry na ikutan ko na. Well, ganun talaga ang buhay.
Yes. Okay.
To give you all, I'm also a moderator or Ronin under the Only in Japan Discord group and YouTube page. So, if you encounter me, huwag kayong masupresa. Ako yung isa sa mga pasaway doon. I also have a website called HR Carousel. It's just starting pero I'm trying to build in some content na. The job
Okay.
right now is so tedious and so very heavy na hindi ko rin mabigyan ng oras. But I intend to go back immediately after I'm done with COVID-19. Okay,
Okay. Ayan. Sige po. Joy, I will leave the floor to you. So ayan
yeah,
po. I'll just come back pag after na po nung iyong presentation. Okay? So
yeah,
ladies and
thank you.
gentlemen, let's start with our discussion on human resources and the gig economy.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon. My name again is Joy Alosbaños. I'm a corporate HR practitioner and at the same time a freelancer consultant under the online boards such as Upwork and People Per Hour. I'll be discussing about HR and the gig economy. Uh, teka ha. My discussion points are as follows. What is the gig economy? What are the side gigs prior to the internet? Why employees pursue side gigs, the type of gigs for any employee, including HR, how HR would handle employees with side gigs. And I'll be giving some tips on upcoming freelancers. Okay. The gig economy is a system where work is contracted on a freelance yung short-term basis. This often uses technology to connect workers and hirers. Okay, to give an idea, the gig economy is not really new. As mentioned here in the quote by Miss Molly Turner, she's also the lecturer for Haas School of Business, the University of California, Berkeley branch, and the former director for public policy for Airbnb. This is not new. People have always worked on gigs, but today, when most people refer to the gig economy, they specifically talk about technology-enabled kind of works. Meaning, this is now the gig economy is already identified with technology. Next. To give an idea, this was published in May of 2020. Bago lang po ito. The Philippines is ranked among the largest source of online labor. If you notice, India is number one and we're at least number six. The ASEAN region, we're number one. The next country is Indonesia. Okay. So, to give an idea, ito po yung side gig or racket before the internet. If you're familiar with side gigs like this, for example, you sell makeup, Avon, skincare, lingerie, food items. These are from your kapwa employees. Most of the earnings are commission. If we're talking about professionals, typically it's bookkeepers or creation of plan for architect. If we're gonna talk about HR, bihira po ito, meaning it's mostly exclusive and word of mouth. It also entails that the person in charge is a retired HR practitioner or a manager. Okay, next. Why do employees pursue side gig? Sideline siya o temp job, and sometimes you can pursue it together with your full-time job. You use your actual competency or skill or a hobby which you pursue to do. It's more like a passion project actually. You discover things that you are not familiar of with, pero at the same time you discover that you have the skill during the online gig. You're getting paid according to the services that you provide for your clients. And of course, yung number one over there is work at your time and own pace. Okay. There are two types of side gigs for employees. Number one, as I mentioned earlier, is consultant or referral system. And also number two, online work sites such as Upwork, Freelancer, People Per Hour, Guru, and other online jobs.ph. Okay. When we talk about consultancy, these are small to medium-sized companies who hire HR or professionals to work on short-term projects. Some do not. If in HR, we do this because walang HR or non-existent ang HR. For HR, it's normally talent acquisition, learning and development, or development of handbooks and HR policies. You are normally referred by managers, colleagues, and through network within the professional community. This is our typical path. If you go into, you become a manager, you become eventually a consultant. The pay would depend on how complex the tasks are in behalf of clients or based on the capability of the consultant. Next. So we're going to talk about the freelancing via online platforms. These are long-term or short-term work for freelancer via online freelancer platforms. As I mentioned earlier, the most common is freelancer.ph, Upwork, Guru, Craigslist Manila, and it's a professional website. You specialize in HR, project management, accounting, IT, customer support. Here, you need to create a profile and sell yourself to your client based on the job requirement or the competency you possess. Right now, with Upwork, you need to provide at least three online profiles na. And you apply according to the profile you have to present yourself. Your reputation in general would depend on the feedback coming from your clients online. This assures you that you will secure the next gig once na matapos yung project mo. The minimum rate is about $3 per hour for Upwork. To your weekly pay. You can go higher provided that your okay, and then you can basically demand for higher rate. To give you an idea, this is my corporate profile in Upwork. So nakalagay siya yung success rate mo. That time I was top rated. Right now I'm not active, but it mentioned there how much is your hourly rate, your total earnings as of that date, how many jobs have you worked on, whether or not tapos na siya or ongoing siya, it's there, and the number of hours you work. This is your typical job ad in Upwork. It says there what classification, hourly ba or fixed rate, the level of the ideal candidate, and the start date. It also provides the details and how it is presented, whether or not the company is verified, location, and how many jobs did this poster created. Okay. HR in general is the keeper of company policies and procedure. It has to do with all employees, including employees with full-time jobs and side gigs. So we will discuss on legal considerations, full disclosure, time management, productivity and performance, and of course, yung pinaka-importante, company resources. Number one, how to handle employees with side gig. Number one, as HR practitioner, you are required to advise employees on company policies regarding side gigs. The policy will normally be inside the company employment contract. the NDAs and code of conduct po. So, as if an employee is working on a side gig, at least HR should be open in discussing these matters to that person para uh, clear tayo tungkol dun sa sa policy natin. So, if the employee approaches you or you've been informed that someone is pursuing a side gig, I would advise you to talk to them personally about this matter. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, you have to demand transparency on the part of the employee on the issue of pursuing guide gig. It is going, I would encourage HR practitioners to be open about discussing these matters, confidential of course, and this, if they have any questions about this matter, I would suggest na you fully disclose everything. And at the same time, the employee would be open about talking about the side gig. In my experience in HR, when I started going back to Upwork around 2013, I talked to my manager and I told her I have an open profile in Upwork. That time, it was called Odes. And I told her, Ma'am, magpuputso po ako muli ng side gig ko. And she said, ano yung gagawin mo specifically? That time, I think nag-e-encode ako that time. And I'm also hiring for content workers, writers for online content. And I'm also interpreting the blog in Chinese. And surprisingly, I don't speak Chinese, but I use Google Translate. So she was open about it and she told me anong dapat ko malaman. And I discussed it that I'm doing it every weekend or at night. So that is how transparent you should be when it comes to these matters. 3, you not define the company limits as far as using company resources, working inside the company premises, and during working hours to support side gigs. With Velocity, we have a policy of not restricting our employees to pursue side gigs. However, I also defined that you're not supposed to work during working hours. You cannot use the company internet. You cannot use the company printer, paper, etc. I also caught one former employee in my company, Versar, who was using his laptop during, actually after office hours na yun. Pero nakita ko yung Upwork monitoring system. Maliit siyang may system na i-install sa computer mo and it will monitor the number of hours you would devote in a particular project. When I saw that, sinabi ko dun sa employee, nag-Upwork ka? Yes, ma'am. Bakit mo ginagawa yan dito sa loob ng office? You're not supposed to do that. Actually, hindi ko naman siya ni-report, pero nonetheless, I gave him the warning that I am not encouraging this. He also heard about Upwork from my end, so parang tinry niya, and he was successful in getting a project there. But using the company policy was a big no. Company resources was a big no-no. So, simula noon, tumigil na siya. Or, to a certain extent, hindi siya nagpapakita sa akin every time nandun ako nag-overtime. Okay. Number 4, candidates must disclose side gigs during interview or onboarding process. Some applicants now reveal their affiliation with Upwork. Kahit sa LinkedIn, they would disclose that they would be working on side gigs. So I encourage candidates to disclose any side gigs, and I consider them as actual working experience. So some HR practitioners do not consider online side gigs as a form of work experience, but I encourage people to disclose it fully. I also have a former employee with Oddfield, a former company I worked with, that she's also working as a professor for civil engineering at UP Diliman. And he was asking about if I'm allowed to do it during the weekend. So it was an open discussion. So sabi ko, it's okay. I can tell it to my employer if you want. If they don't have any objections, you can still continue doing that. Time management. Ito ang malaking issue with side giggers and full-time workers. You have a 40-hour work week, and at the same time, they're also pursuing a side gig. Um, you have to be clear that the person has to work with the company for 40 hours per week. If you want to do your job, else side gig should be after working hours. But at the same time, you have to really disclose it fully para hindi magkaroon ng conflict of interest dito. Nandito na yung conflict of interest as far as the company and the side gigger is concerned. Hindi dapat mag-overlap siya. Okay. Productivity and performance. If the company allows it, the company must not compromise his performance and productivity. Like I said in my discussion with my former HR manager, I assured her that this would not in any way affect my performance and my capacity as an HR officer. She was okay with that, but she also gave me a very specific advice. If I feel that you are not performing to your best at alam ko may side gig ka, it has to stop. So it should not hamper you for performing well, and your productivity level should not fall down based on the manager's expectation. If side gigs are allowed or to a certain extent tolerated, there must be a policy in place. You need to require them to, to compose a letter requiring them that they fully disclose that they have a gig. Tapos pa-approve po yan. There are companies that do not tolerate side gigs because of, like I said, potential conflict of interest or to a certain extent moonlighting. Now, since COVID started, it has been noticed that you have to review your company policy and NDA to cover such issues. That engineer that I told you about, I told her to write a letter disclosing that she has a side gig and it will not affect her performance. It was documented and it was approved and I kept it in her 201 file. So parang clear tayo from day one na she has a side gig, it's documented and it's approved. It's signed by the CEO that time. Okay, to give you an idea, this is the current rate for freelancers as of December 2016. So you get an idea magkano po yung rate ng mga freelancers in the online gig economy. HR and please note that the HR or recruitment manager earned $3 to $5 an hour. And on the monthly basis, nasa 23,906 to 39,844. Provided that the person is full-time, yes, it can go as high as this or it can go as low as this. There are also fixed rates, like for example, content writers. Content writers minimum is about 500 words per blog or per article. Graphic or visual artist, and SEO po. Programmers score the highest as far as earnings are concerned. Excuse me. Next. Okay. Why side gigs will be part of the new normal? Number one, because of COVID-19, work from home is here to stay. So there is also some flexibility in as far as your work is concerned. So in a way, pag freelancer ka, you can handle both your corporate job and your side job. Walang ang tawag mo doon, walang problema as long as the company allows it and there is extra time. Digitalization, because side gigs are posted online, it also gives the opportunity for other people to join in the online side gigs. It also addresses unemployment. Like for example, if you're work at home mom, you can work at home. The opportunity also gives the senior citizen who is also going into retirement to do some jobs, although not traditional, since the side gig is online, most of the online jobs, it gives the opportunity for them to work or some form of income. Reality speaks that some businesses are relying on short-term internet gigs. To give you an idea, it's not just big companies like Airbnb, Amazon, eBay who are posting job ads online, but also small to medium-sized companies. They cannot afford a full-time employee, so they decided to outsource it to those platforms and get people from within the side gig community or the gig economy to work on jobs or projects that normally is assigned to a regular employee. It saved them of cost. And now the government is recognizing the gig economy via Senate Bill 1469 or the National Digital Careers Act. It seeks to put a legal framework on the gig economy and give them opportunities like, for example, education and training for those people who wanted to go into the side gig. This is sponsored recently by Senator Sonny Angara. So right now, it's not yet finalized, but then again, you need to recognize that the government is looking into protecting the interest of the gig economy or of the people working in gig economies. Okay. If you are intending to be one, I would suggest to look out for these items. When I said red flag, ito po yung pag-iingatan po ninyo. The job advertiser is not verified, especially with Upwork. It takes them time to verify a certain profiler or a job advert. With Craigslist Manila, notorious po siya when it comes to this part. I'm sorry, but it's true na hindi mo sure kung legit siya. And marami pong freelancer po ang nabibiktima because they wanted to take the opportunity to work with this company. They would initially pay, pero eventually, i-abandon po ito. Number 2, ask you to work outside of the platform. Immediately refuse this because if, for example, Upwork caught you in doing this, they would ban your profile permanently. And even if you try to re-establish yourself using another email address and they find out that you're the same person, sorry, hindi po kayo pwedeng lumusot sa Upwork. Asking for money before you start for any projects. Muntik na po ako dito last time. It was through outsourced. This person was asking me to buy muna computers or peripherals to start the project. When I saw that email, nagduda ako. I emailed the employer telling them na, are you allowing this? You're supposed to supply me with the computers and stuff. I'm not supposed to buy it, then later on you're gonna pay me. And they verified na hindi po ito yung advertisement po namin. We are not advertising through outsourced. So, right there and then, kinwit ko siya agad. Bad feedback from previous contractors. This is true because some employers are not ideal employers. Normally, in Upwork, they would score you, and you will score them. Pag may feedback po na hindi maganda, nakikita po siya doon sa loob. Also, there are also online HR communities devoted to the freelancers community or sa side giggers. They would tell you kung sinong employer po ang iiwasan ninyo. I've seen, I think, 3 or 4 recently, and they've been tagging this person na hindi po siya nagbabayad. So, I would suggest mag-ingat po kayo. My tips for upcoming freelancers. Number 1, do not quit your job until you're ready to do so. One of the opportunities of working in the side gig economy is the fact that you can go from full-time employment to a freelancer. Until you are secure, I would suggest na wag muna kayong tumalon doon sa freelancing gig. Number 2, patience is a virtue. Yes, it is because of the fact for the freelancing community, marami po nag-a-apply sa isang job ad. Encoders would normally get mga more than 500 queries on that particular job. If you are lucky enough, then you get the job. Build your profile and reputation online. As you mentioned earlier, your reputation will be your passport in getting more jobs, if not higher pay. You have to be very careful in dealing with employers online. If they don't like your services, they would tell you otherwise, and then you get a bad feedback from their end. And also, napansin ko rin sa community din that they're complaining about certain Filipinos who had lower rates, na parang they're lowering down the rates of the Filipinos when it comes to bidding for projects. So, I would suggest na you do not compromise in terms of your quality and capability as a potential member of the gig economy. I would suggest also taking additional trainings to improve ordering competency. As I mentioned earlier, the freelancer community in the Facebook group is a very active group, and they provide training. Admittedly, yes, it is a paid training, pero the investment is worth the plunge. Kumbaga, you need to learn skills. There are now new ways of doing your job. There are also new work opportunities. Like for example, drop shipping is very new. BA, marami pong klase ng BA. And FB ads. Recently, I've seen trainings on FB ads. They're encouraging people to go into freelancing doing FB ads and Shopify and Etsy. I would also suggest reading blogs or watching video about freelancing. Marami po. LJ posting their videos in their community, in the niche, in the community. Jason De Vera also works in YouTube. She also gives tips on freelancing and where you should apply. Last but not least, join the freelance community in FB. It's a big group. And they encourage people to do freelancing. Okay, another tip is if you're going to go full-time with freelancing, you should continue remitting your contribution to government agency as a volunteer. Please stick to the regular, how do you call it, salary range, lalo na po sa SSS. Kung nasa maximum na po kayo, please stick to that. I think there was some discussion in the past na pag freelancer ka, pwede kang bumaba. I would suggest not kasi it would affect your benefits and pension in the long run. Last, also, save money. There are periods where you have too much work. May periods din na wala po work. si freelancer. Okay? Last, I'll quote this from the Pioneer Global Freelancer Income Survey under Business Mirror. I'll read this. To say today's gig economy, powered by social media, global marketplace, and the online payment platforms, equip the global workforce with all the tools needed to build a full-time career, a side hustle, and extend their career post-retirement. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you learned something out of my presentation.
Ayan, thank you very much, Joy, for that one. Sige po.
Teka.
Okay, move muna kita sa background, bago po tayo mag-proceed sa ating Q&A question, Q&A portion, move po muna kita sa background para mapasalamatan lang po natin ating mga sponsors. Now, for those who are watching right now, baka nagtataka kayo, wait lang, bilang HR, ano ba ang role ko pagdating kay gig economy? One of the things that we have to keep in mind is that gig economy is what's happening right now globally. Okay? So, malamang iniisip nyo na, ay wait lang, baka sa Pilipinas lang to. Hindi po, tulad nga na pinakita nating data kanina, pinakamataas ngayon si India. Philippines is one of the major players when it comes to the gig economy. And gig economy can happen in many forms. Hindi lang ito online. Meron din tayong gig economy pag kayo po ay nagbebenta ng sapatos, Avon, barbecue, yan pong mga yan, lahat po yan ay part ng gig economy. Kaya naman po, dapat natin pag-isipan, lalo na yung nangyari sa ating pandemic ngayon, bilang HR, paano nga ba natin i-handle yung gig economy? At tayo, bilang mga empleyado din naman, paano nga ba tayo po pwedeng mag-engage sa gig economy in a safe manner na hindi naman po tayo maiipit? Kasi tandaan natin, ang conflict of interest po ay isa po sa mga grounds. Maaari po tayong ma-terminate dahil po sa conflict of interest. Ayan. So mamaya po sasagutin po natin lahat yan. Pero bago po muna, isa po muna mga paalala. Meron po kaming upcoming na mga webinars on conducting TNA. Meron din pong upcoming na webinar. Next week po ito lahat. So conducting TNA, matututunan nyo po kung paano po yung proper way on how you do training needs analysis. Magkakaroon din po tayo ng discussion on moving from being a staff to a supervisor. So from staff to supervisor, how to lead. And then yung atin pong paborito ng lahat, HR auditing, how to adhere to general labor standards. So tutulungan po namin kayo on how to make sure that you pass DOLE audits at ano ba yung mga tinitignan nila at ano ba yung mga bagay na dapat in place in the first place para pag kayo po ay inaudit ni DOLE ay hindi naman po kayo magkakaroon ng problema. Okay? And next week po, free webinar po natin is the role of gamification in HR at napaka-special po ng ating guest next week dahil magiging international na naman po kami. Ubusan ng English na naman po ito. So yun po yung magiging guest po namin ay someone who's very good and is a known name when it comes to gamification. Ayan. Pero next week na po natin aalamin yan para naman meron tayong excitement. Okay? Sa mga hindi pa po nagla-like sa page namin, pa-like naman po para po ma-inform po kayo pag meron po tayong upcoming free webinars, paid webinars, contests, at kung ano pa man pong mga announcements po. Kung kayo po ay naghahanap naman po ng lugar kung saan kayo po pwedeng mag-raise ng mga HR questions, Philippines HR Group po, the largest Facebook group for HR professionals. Para po naman sa mga vendors at yun pong mga merong mas komplikado pong mga katanungan. Kung matagal na po kayo sa HR, I would encourage you po to join our group, Society for the Advancement of HR. Ayan po. Any request po sa mga nagtatanong, request for slides, video, and certificate of attendance, ito po yung code. Ipapakita po ulit natin ito mamaya, pero for now, po pwede nyo na pong kunan ng picture yan para inyo pong makita, para kayo po ay makapag-request na ng copy ng certificate, slides, and video. Mamaya po ipapakita ulit natin yan. Okay po? Ayan. At bago po ang lahat, magpapasalamat po tayo sa ibang sponsors. Kung kayo po ay naghahanap po ng a partner to help you establish your presence online, we would like to introduce you to Social Geekers. Please watch this video. Ayan po, at nais din po namin pasalamatan ng aming po isa sa mga partners po namin. So if you're looking for a way to learn at your own pace, mobile learning po, isa lang po ang aming maisasuggest po sa inyo. Please watch this video from Move Up. At pag kayo po ay umattend ng aming mga webinars at swertihin po kayo at isa po kayo sa mga active sa ating mga webinars, maaari po kayong manalo. Doon po, maaari po kayong manalo ng gift certificate or vouchers po para po sa masterclass ng Move Up. Kaya abangan niyo po yung aming mga paid webinars para makasali po kayo dyan. Ayan po. Okay. So meron po tayo, magka-hi hello lang po tayo sa ating yung mga kararating lang po. May nagtatanong po dito, ang tanong po niya, when exactly is the next upcoming event po? Ang next event po natin, depende po, paid webinar po ba or yung free natin? Yung free po natin ay next Saturday po ulit. Pero yung atin pong mga paid webinars po, meron po tayo on Wednesday. Yun pong for the train po natin, Wednesday po ang mangyayari dyan. Okay? So let's call back Miss Joy para naman po sa
Hello.
ating discussion. Ayan. So si Miss Farida po ay may question siya. Freelance, racket, or intermittent jobs are considered ba within the gig economy? How can we address issues in terms of tax paid when some engage in are just letting their ends and meet? Paano daw po ba ang impact nito sa taxes? May idea ka ba dito?
Actually, if you're going to ask me, yes, freelancers are required to pay taxes.
Yes, correct.
8% if I'm not mistaken.
Oo.
However,
Nakatanda.
may bracket kasi siya. I'm not sure how big is the bracket. However, you need to register sa BIR if you are a freelancer. So you are also required to issue receipts. And yeah, 8% po yun. Pwedeng
At saka
3%.
tandaan
Basta alam ko
natin
8% somewhere.
may remember during the pandemic, during yung talagang naka-quarantine lahat, 'di ba nag-announce na rin si BIR at ang gobyerno na yung mga bebenta online, yung mga online sellers dapat registered po kayo. So pag nagbebenta po kayo, dapat nag-i-issue ng resibo. Ngayon yung sa iba kasi iniisip nila na ay ang hassle magre-register pa, magkukuha pa ng resibo. Ito po ay para din naman po kasi sa safety ng mga bumibili. So in case na, alam mo yun, magka-problema, either pwede nila ibalik, meron silang proof na nagbayad sila at pwedeng i-honor ito ni BIR at kung sino mang government agency kasi legal yung pagbebenta o kung ano pa man. Pero kailangan niyo po talagang mag-register sa BIR. Kung nahihirapan po kayo mag-register, kung hindi niyo po alam kung ano po yung dapat yung registration na gawin, Wednesday po pag-uusapan namin yan sa Building Your Business. O pwede po kayong mag-sole proprietor, one person corporation, partnership, marami po kayong options. Pero as far as the taxes is paid po, expanded withholding tax po, pwedeng pumasok yan. So, yun nga, tulad nga sinabi ni Joy, either 8% yan, may iba-iba pong percentages yan kasi depende po kung ano yung service na pinoprovide nyo.
I would
Pero kung
suggest
ipapasok,
8%, yes. Kasi
oo.
may classification actually siya. I can't remember, it was discussed during the train seminar which my staff and I attended. It says 8%. May 5% or 3% something. You need to get registered, lalo na po freelancer po kayo and you're providing more income than usual po. Kasi I do admit that the salaries of the freelancer go as far as 5 to 6 figures po. And they would brag about it on social media, to be honest.
So, depende po yan. Depende po sa kung ano yung service na pinoprovide nila. Kung yung pong kung empleyado po ito at pinapayagan siya ng company na magkaroon ng side gig at aware si company na mag-side gig, actually si company po ay po pwede na nilang isama yun. Magiging mixed income po siya.
Yes.
Okay, so pagdating po sa income tax, substituted filing, hindi po siya magiging qualified for substituted filing, siya po yung personal na magpa-file ng kanyang income tax pag meron po siyang mixed income.
Saka you need to realize that we consolidate, at the end of the year, you consolidate, HR people are requiring everybody to consolidate their income. If you have a side gig, you pay a separate tax. I would suggest consolidating it. I would also suggest getting an accountant if needed, just to have it done. A good material for discussing on the freelancer and the taxes would be LJ Jose. He has a stream, I think, a few months ago of discussing about taxes in the freelancing community. Nasa FB po siya.
Okay, so yan po, pwede nyo po yang tignan. Okay?
Mm-mm.
May tanong si Miss Dayan Esquivel. Pwede po ba sa applicant interview pa lang itanong na anong mga side hustles ng isang applicant for possible conflict of interest? Does the company reserve the right to make the applicant or soon to be employee to make him or her quit the side hustle prior to employment? Thank you po. Actually, isa to doon sa mga na-discuss kanina, and I like yung sinagot ni Sir June Mendoza doon sa discussion sa Philippines HR Group. The first thing that you have to understand is that freelancing is different from moonlighting. Okay?
Yes.
Freelancing is generally pag wala ka talaga employment and you provide services to a lot of people. Wala kang employer, you're a freelancer. Okay? That's the technical meaning of freelancing. Moonlighting is you are connected with one employer, tapos meron kang mga side hustles na hindi alam ng iyong current employer at hindi
Yes.
approved ng iyong current employer, which is why moonlighting is not allowed. So let's be clear on that. Moonlighting is not allowed. You can get terminated if you are moonlighting, of course without the approval of your boss, kasi conflict
Yes.
of interest yan. So we have to be very clear on that. Now,
We,
can an
we have to be
employer,
clear then that moonlighting is working within the industry, meaning if you're working as an HR in the IT industry and you're also working on the side as an HR for a similar industry, it is technically moonlighting. You can get terminated for that. They would allow you only if the sideline is not related to the industry you're currently working with. The company
okay,
is very clear on that.
kaya nga sinasabi natin kanina, di ba, nabanggit ni Joy kanina, na you have to get the approval, okay? And there should be transparency with your boss before you actually engage in any project outside of your day job. Napaka-importante po noon kasi ang conflict of interest po, again, ulitin ko lang, ay isa po sa mga basis for just causes, termination due to just causes. So po pwede po kayong ma-terminate dyan. Now, whether an employer can require the employee to give up yung kanyang side gig, posible po yun. Okay, posible po yun. It can be used as a basis for requiring, it can be used as a basis for accepting, okay, before accepting an applicant na dapat wala kang side gig, wala kang side hustles. O pwede po yun. Okay? Kasi kung kunwari merong ng knowledge si employer at inallow pa rin niya, para ka na rin nagsabi na okay lang sa akin na may side gig ka or meron kang mga side hustles. Pero ito isa kailangan nating tandaan ha. The gig economy will not go away.
Yeah.
It will be a major player in the coming months and it will be a main staple in the coming months. Nasubukan na natin ito. We've had the mere fact that employees are working from home right now has actually established the fact that it is possible to work from anywhere. If it is possible to work from anywhere, then it is also possible, lalo na nagkaroon ng flexible work arrangement, it is possible to be flexible in how we do our job. Okay? And if it's possible to be flexible on how we do our job, it is also possible to be flexible on how many jobs we are able to do. Okay? So, ngayon pa lang bilang HR dapat iniisip na natin yan at dapat nag-guide natin yung mga managers natin on how to properly handle that. Kasi if we keep denying and if we keep saying na no, hindi pwede side gig, hindi pwede yung hustles, hindi po pwede yung mga iba pang trabaho na yan or business na yan, tayo din na mahihirapan. Okay? Kasi that's the trend right now. Okay? Yung magkakaroon ka na meron kang trabaho at meron ka pang mga side hustles. Kaya nagbebenta ka ng halaman, kandila, ulam, Avon, kahit ano pa yan. it will become a very staple in the new normal. So we have to know how to handle that. Okay?
Admittedly, one of the articles that I read before this presentation pertains to encouraging employers to have their employees have side gigs. It shows their entrepreneurial skills. And at the same time, parang one of the ito, hindi pa siya recognized actually, one of the strategies in retaining your employees. Um, it also encourages employers to go into blended workforce. It's a combination of both full-time, part-time employees, contractors, and side giggers. It's a matter of just accommodating what is now the new
Mm,
normal. At the
correct,
same
correct.
time, you need to define where are the limits. Kasi pag hindi nyo dinefine ito, siguradong si employee darating sa umaga at puyat doon sa side gig niya. You need to define it as early as possible if you are encouraging people to do these things.
Yeah, I agree.
Avon in those previous to the internet are already existing prior to the technology-driven side gigs. Uh, when it comes to the side gig economy, it is big. There are around 50 companies that I saw yesterday na are into the side gig economy. Upwork, freelancer, Guru is just the tip of the iceberg. It also includes delivery services, remittances, and I forgot the whole, it's a whole gamut, 50 companies or 50 classification of companies that is into side gigs. Hindi natin pwedeng i-deny sa employee that later on they would go into that direction. So I would encourage, I'm not really encouraging it kasi there is, yes, a conflict of interest, pero you need to realize na sooner or later, it will be everywhere. And just,
Yes, I
this is
agree.
just, what I'm talking about is just the tip of the iceberg kung gaano kalawak ang side gigs or the hustle economy.
Okay, kaya nga dapat talaga tayo bilang HR, ang trabaho natin is to make sure na yung mga policies, mga procedures, lalo na ngayon, review nyo yan. How do you protect the company? Kasi ang pinaka nagiging problema when it comes to side gigs or side hustles is the use of the company assets for those
Mm-mm.
side gigs. Company assets including company time. How do you
Yeah.
prevent the employees from using that? So you would need to have policies, procedures, platforms to keep them from doing those. Kasi kahit na anong sabihin niyo na hindi po pwede, magkakaroon at magkakaroon yan. I used to work with an IT company before, and even though ang usual na sinasabi is hindi siya allowed, it's some sort of an open secret that some of the web developers that we have actually develop websites outside of the company after office hours or during their rest day. Okay, hindi siya conflict of interest kasi the websites that they're developing are not in line with the
Yes, yes.
primary line of business nung company na yon. But still, it's an open secret that during weekends or pag wala silang ginagawa or pag nakabakasyon sila, they sometimes do mabilisang websites, WordPress-based websites, ginagawa nila yon to earn more money. Kasi we have also to understand that these people would want to earn more, especially if they have a family, if they have things that they would like to save for. Okay? Pero ang importante lang nito ay dapat may disclosure, may acceptance, at wala dapat pagkukross, especially when it comes to the use of time and the use of resources. Yan.
Yes.
Sabi
Yes,
ni Miss
totoo yan.
Gwyn Nilo, Miss or Mister, sorry nagkamali ako. Does this mean there is a foreseeable trend towards enforcing less strict measures for employees who want to take a freelancing job if we want to continue attracting and retaining talent? Personally, I think there should be less strict measures kasi
Mm.
keep in mind that the workforce, yung papasok na workforce po natin, yung ating mga Gen Zs, okay, ay
Yes.
hindi po tulad ng mga Gen Xers, Boomers and Gen Xers, medyo they share a common understanding of what work is all about. It's an 8 to 5 thing na nakafocus ka lang sa isang bagay. But with the millennials, especially the late millennials and the Gen Zs, okay, they have a different understanding of the world. They know that everything can be done can be automated. They know that there are platforms for almost everything, and they are after flexibility. So if we are unable to adapt to that, we would have a hard time attracting and retaining talent. So we have to be less strict, but without compromising the legal identity of our company. Okay?
Also, you need to realize that they're also going after the same people we are going after as well. We are recruiters, we are HR practitioners. We're competing with them. Eh. So
Mm-mm.
you need some
Correct.
level of
Agree.
flexibility. I'm not discouraging people to be strict about the policies they used to implement. However, like I said earlier, accommodation is the term we're looking for right now. Kasi some of them may not disclose it. Para ni-restrict mo pa rin sila, tapos tuloy-tuloy pa yan kahit ano mangyari.
Mm-mm.
I experienced this firsthand. I worked with this IT company then and disclosed it to the manager. When the other operations manager discovered that I was doing side gigs, he used it against me, and I didn't like that. So in a way, I disclosed it as an applicant myself. It's a matter of are you open to the idea that you're hiring somebody who also has a side gig? Saka
Okay.
reality speaks, we need additional income. And this is one of those ways to earn it legitimately.
Okay. Now we have a question from Miss Hannah Heradura. I'm an HR student and this is not usually mentioned in our class discussions. What
Yeah.
are the differences between gig employee and a contractual worker who has better benefits? Are gig employees protected by the labor law, by labor
Number
laws?
one, number one, gig employees are not protected by the labor law. They're covered by the normally by U.S. standards. If
Or
you
kung
would
ano
work,
man yung nasa service
kung ano yung,
agreement.
kung nasa, as on the service agreement, Upwork has their own service agreement. Once you accept a project, wala nang usapan. You start working with them. Contractual employees are working on, like I said, working another contract for 5 to 6 months. Who has the better benefits? If you're gonna ask me, it's more like the usual traditional 9 to 5 jobs because they have HMO, they have leave credits, they have SSS pag-ibig and PhilHealth. A freelancer or a gigster has to pay their own SSS, pag-ibig, PhilHealth taxes, they have to buy their own HMO. Pero in terms of the income, yes, mas malaki po ang sa gig employee because some of them are shorter terms. Admittedly, some of them also have long-term clients as well because stable sila as far as the salaries are concerned. But if you're going to consider this, yes, 9 to 5 po, yung mas stable.
Okay. Tandaan po natin yung mga gig po, per gig lang po ang bayad dyan. So minsan, tulad nga nasabi ni Joy kanina, minsan marami kang gig, minsan naman wala kang gig. So hindi siya ganun ka-consistent compared sa pag may trabaho ka talaga na you can expect the salary 15th and 30th. Ito, you really have to look for jobs every now and then, ensure na meron kang consistent na clients na pumapasok. You know how to market
Mm-mm.
yourself well. Otherwise, mahihirapan ka talaga. Okay, but when it comes to protection by the labor law, sadly, it's not protected by the labor law kasi wala naman pong yung ating current na definition ng employee-employer relationship ay hindi siya po pwedeng i-apply ng ganun ka-freely sa gig economy. So may
Yes, yes.
mga certain areas po na hindi tumutugma dun sa ating definition ng employer-employee relationship. Kaya medyo hindi siya kayang protektahan ng labor. Paano 'pag nasa government ka, need bang malaman niya ng HR na may side gigs ka?
Oh, good question. Kasi we're defining here, what we define here right now are private employees, not the government. I don't know how strict or how open is the is for the government employees, but I'm also under the impression that you need to file your taxes diligently. Kasi pag malaman na may malaki yung savings mo, mayroon kang pinagwambay or something, they may think it came from graft and corruption. But you need,
Yes, correct.
yeah, yun. Yun lang masasabi ko doon.
Oh. Salin, hello, naghe-hello si Salin. Okay.
Hello.
Sabi po ni Miss Joy Arcilia, moonlighting po. Unfamiliar with the word. Please enlighten me po. Ano daw po ba
Okay.
ang moonlighting?
Okay, moonlighting is a term for employees work on the context of the gig economy. You're working as a full-time employee with this industry and yet you're working with another under the same industry po. Like you said, IT po kayo, IT support yung susupport ang sideline mo, yun ang tinatawag na moonlighting.
Or para mas mabilis po, kung kayo po ay merong employer right now, tapos meron ka pang iba pang ginagawa that could hurt your current employer, moonlighting po yan. Conflict of interest po. Basta pumasok na po ang conflict of interest at wala pong approval ng inyong pagsa-side gig, side hustle, pag-freelance nyo po, yan po ay moonlighting, maaari po kayong makasuhan po dyan.
You also need to understand that there are confidential matters in your company that should not be disclosed to the other company. If you are working on the same industry, both as a full-time and a side gig person, ano na po yan, magkakaroon po ng parang delineation or nagmamadal na somewhere in between po yung alam nyo sa kaalam nyo kasi pareho eh. Parang industry eh. So particularly IT companies, they need to protect their intellectual properties.
Okay. So yung tanong ni Ms. Vilma Aquino, does it apply to government employees? Yes po, nag-a-apply din po. So make sure po na talagang nadidisclose nyo po. Okay, kasi yun nga sabi ko sa inyo, maghe-hello sa inyo si SALN yan. Pag kayo po ay... Oo, at si BIR pag hindi nyo po yan na-disclose ng tama. Okay, sabi po ni Sir Jote, it's a global trend. Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
Gig economy is a global trend na po. Actually, dito sa Pilipinas, marami na po tayong mga side gigs. Kaya lang hindi natin kasi siya tinatawag na side gig. Yung pag nagbebenta kayo ng Avon at kung ano pa man. Side gig na po yun. Pero lately, yung ibang mga bansa, mas nagiging ano na sila, talagang sinasama na nila or kumbaga when it comes to the corporate setting, they also have this understanding na talagang magiging part na ng normal or ng new normal itong side gig na. Yan.
You need to understand that the gig economy started way beyond that. It started with this Avon, it started with nagtitinda ng skincare, makeup, and stuff. If we're going to use the context of the internet per se, it started in the 90s. Hindi nyo lang, sa under the radar pa lang siya. If you're familiar with Pinoy, I forgot the Pinoy PEX yata yun, if I'm not mistaken. There were also already some side gigs inside of that. I discovered all this through that platform. It was 1998, 99 when that started. It boomed somewhere in the 2000s. If I remember it right, I had this interview before with a BP, and I told him I was working as a freelancer online. Ang sabi niya, encoder daw ako. It was an insult. Because,
okay, so,
nasa ilalim ko ba ng dagat or something?
Merong magandang comment dito, si Ms. Chuchi Del Prado. Sabi po niya, policies, employment contract, and code of conduct have to be adapted, communicated, and signed off by both parties.
Yes, I agree on that. But you also, one of the articles I read also says you have to review your policies in the light of the side gig of the gig economy because it's already technically a gray area pagdating sa gig economy.
Actually, nagiging gray area na yan.
Gray na siya po.
Is compress their work schedule and allow them to use rest of the hours in their own workplace. Kaya parang hindi naghahalo daw yung time na ginagamit para po doon sa sa side gig at yung time na ginagamit para naman doon sa work. Ayan.
Like I said earlier, you need to define yung time management principle pagdating sa corporate jobs and the side gig. Ako one particular example po. I work 40 hours per week and I devote about 1 to 2 hours for my side gig and the weekends. I would normally suggest those who would do the side gig to work at least 10 to 20 hours per week para hindi po magka-problema. If you're going to go full-time on a 40-hour and may 40 hour ka pa dito sa side gig mo, it's not going to be pretty. Apektado po yung performance ng employee. pati tulog po.
Okay, sinasabi po ni Miss Michelle Ho, classmates, say present naman daw po. Ayan.
Hello.
Okay, sabi ni Sir Ruben Cunanan, can you share to us your idea how to handle or monitor that employees working from home so as to make sure that they do not engage in any acts in conflict with his or her official function? Ako po, ang unang-una masasabi ko po sa inyo, Sir Ruben, Time Doctor. It's an app
Yeah,
that
time doctor.
actually takes pictures of the desktop of your employee every now and then. Hindi po niya yan napapansin. And then masisend po sa inyo yan. So namo-monitor niyo po kung anong ginagawa
Yes.
niya doon sa kanyang computer. Ayan po.
Yes,
Yun po yung
time
mga suggestion ko sa inyo.
time doctor because it measures productivity. To give you an idea, there is also a counterpart in Upwork. Pag nagkamali po kayo ng at nag-Facebook po kayo, nagwo-work po kayo on your side gig, makaka-capture yun every 10 minutes po. So, ang ginagawa ko pag nahuhuli ako, dinidelete ko po siya. Pero
Ayan.
the time doctor is also used for that. But you give them limits as far as working full-time with you guys. Kasi sa Apoy, kaya namin edit yung mga picture grab eh.
Sa Time
Hindi
Doctor
po na
hindi.
time doctor, hindi ho pwede yan.
So Time Doctor po
Mahuhuli
yun.
niyo kung sino ho nag-Facebook ng oras na yon.
So kung ang ano ko naman, ang yun, aside from Time Doctor, kasi medyo may bayad po si Time Doctor. So aside from that, ang isa pa pong po pwede niyong gawin, and this is what we did in one of the companies that I've worked with in the past, yung amin pong mga PC at mga laptop, disabled po yung mga ports. So hindi po pwedeng basta-basta magsaksak ng kahit na ng USB or anything. Okay, and then, naka-VPN po siya. So may mga sites po na naka-block. So pag naka-VPN po kami, hindi namin ma-access yung mga sites na yon. So yun po yung mga po pwede nyo pong gawin. Coordinate with your IT and network specialist para ma-block nyo po yung mga websites na hindi nila dapat puntahan para hindi po sila, sure po kayo na hindi sila nagtatrabaho or nagsa-side gig or nagmo-moonlighting habang office hours. Ayan.
If you're going to send your computers to their homes, I would suggest installing that immediately.
Bago nyo pa ibigay yung mga
Ibigay, oo. Kasi kung hindi nyo nagawa yon, makakalusot po sila.
So based on your experiences, what's the best way to attract those who have been doing side gigs to go back to a full-time job in the corporate industry, specifically in IT? Kasi kalaban talaga to ni IT palagi. Yung mga side, doon nawawala yung mga magagaling kasi mas gusto nilang mag-side gig dahil mas malaki yung kikitain. Anong suggestion mo, Joy?
Ako personally, offer them something that they simply cannot refuse. Admittedly, those working in the gig economy do not have benefits typically of any corporate employees, but kasi the only thing that is compromised here is yung freedom to do whatever they want whenever they want. Offer them better benefits, offer them not really competitive salary. Bumawi po kayo sa benefits. Some gig stores do not pay their SSS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth because they believe they can get away with it. Pero sa totoo lang, I encourage the freelancers even to pay their SSS, Pag-ibig, and PhilHealth so they can look forward to their retirement.
Suggestion ko po doon sa nagtanong po nito, si Aris. I think si Aris ata. Hi, Aris! Ikaw pala yung nagtanong nito. Aris, ang suggestion...
Facebook user ang pangalan.
Oo, hindi kasi sa ano siya sa group siya nanonood kaya hindi natin nakikita. So, Aris, ang suggestion ko po sa'yo is number 1, understand first bakit nga ba sila side gig. Kasi usually may mga reason yan eh. Aside from the salary, kung hindi kayang pantayan yung salary, hindi nyo naman kailangan pilitin. Okay? But, check ano pa yung mga reasons nila. Kasi minsan, may mga tao na nagsa-side gig because they have flexibility when it comes to how they manage their time. If your company can have or can afford the same flexibility, di yun, pwede nyo ipantapat yun. And then of course, yung mga benefits like SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, wala silang problemahin. And then 15 and 30th, sure sila na may sweldo sila. Hindi katulad pag yung mga sideline, minsan meron, minsan wala. So yun yung mga pwede nyong iano sa kanila. At the same time, syempre, iba pa rin yung samahan sa loob ng opisina, facilities ng opisina, yung meron ka mga nakakausap, yun yung mga pwede nyong, kumbaga, gamitin, convince them to go back to the corporate world. Ayan. Si Joycel po tinatanong niya, ano po ba ang halimbawa ng moonlighting? Tulad po ba na halimbawa ay may business ka o mali po?
Like I said, it is within the same industry you operate in. If, for example, if we're working with IT shared services, ang trabaho mo dapat hindi related sa IT shared services. Any industry except that. Business, di ba, meron namang companies na tumatanggap ng employees na may business din at the same time. Pero like I said, you need to define ano yung limits mo in terms of as
Dapat
being
ano,
an employee and a
dapat
business owner.
Tsaka dapat approve, dapat alam. Kasi pag kahit pa sabihin natin na ano ka lang naman, board director ka lang naman, pero hindi alam, tapos puwede palang magkaroon ng conflict of interest.
Mm.
Puwede ka pa ring maano dun, makasuhan doon at pupuwede ka pa ring ma-terminate dahil.
Oh, mate-terminate for cause ko kayo pag hindi ho kayo nag-disclose fully kung ano yung
Ayan.
activity nyo outside of office hours.
Sabi ni Aris, follow-up question. Some employers in IT industry have a certain bias against hiring freelancers due to their alleged stereotypical laid-back nature in handling work. What's your take on this?
Wow.
Uh,
Really? May ba?
Actually,
Wow.
ano naman kasi 'to, eh, I mean, may mga iba-ibang employers may kanya-kanya namang talagang biases. It's it's a it's something that's innate to all of us. Lahat naman tayo may bias, bias for, bias against. Part na 'yan ng ating, part na
Mm.
'yan ng ating personality, yung mga biases natin. Unconscious yung mga 'yan, so hindi naman talaga natin, minsan nare-realize na may mga biases tayo. And freelancers generally might seem like they are laid back kasi nga they have flexibility of time. But
Mm.
babalik tayo dun sa concept ng time bound ba yung kailangan niyo ipagawa sa kanila? If time bound 'yan, naipaintindi niyo ba sa kanila na time bound 'yun? Kasi usually kaya tayo may mga bias against diyaan or yung mga employers may bias diyan kasi nagkaroon na sila ng pangit na experience with the freelancer that caused them to generalize na lahat ng freelancer ay ganun. So
Mhm.
kailangan lang magkaroon ng change sa mind shift at maintindihan nung mga employers na yun kung bakit ba ayaw nila sa mga laid back na or yung sa bakit ba sila may biases against sa mga freelancers. Kasi hindi naman lahat ng freelancers ay laid back. Sa totoo
Yes.
lang yung mga freelancers ay masisipag yung mga yan kasi kailangan nilang talagang magtrabaho if they want to earn something. Otherwise, pag tumigil sila, wala silang kikitain.
Also, if we're talking about the IT industry in general, hindi lang, we're not just talking about IT support, but we also have programmers who also work as freelancer or contractors. Uh, Siguro because of their alleged laid back behavior, because of the fact that they work longer hours than anybody else. On the average, you have 40 hours din in in the freelance community. Pero they can go beyond 60 to 80 hours maximum kung kinakailangan eh. They also bring technology that is normally not found here in the Philippines because of their exposure to the international market or international employer. There are certain, admittedly siguro, there are certain level of insecurity of what they know, and employers should take note na they should take advantage of that knowledge para ma-improve yung systems or technology.
Mm.
That's it.
Correct. I agree. Kasi yung mga freelancers minsan sila pa yung mas ano eh, mas aware sa mga latest technologies kasi
Yes,
they are working with international clients.
yes,
Ayan.
yes.
So we have here from Jeloni. Wish ko lang hindi ko na murder yung pangalan mo. Jeloni
Oo.
Caril. Engagement and culture, considerations for gig worker employment. There's also a challenge of engagement. How do you encourage teamwork, leadership, and commitment with people who only expect to work for a short period of time? Ayan.
In terms of dedication to the job, there is no question that freelance, although maliit yung employment nila, they're also engaged to a certain extent. Unlike lang siguro with us, they also remote sila eh. Ito, I work as a freelancer, so I work with an Australian company which also deals with recruitment. So we have weekly meetings like everybody else. We get updated. So in a way, it encourage the employer that I work there encourages interaction with everybody. So it's almost the same with the usual engagement and culture you found in the corporate side. Pero ang different lang, this is remote. And they would appreciate you talking to them most of the time. Kasi you have technology, you have Skype, you have, I think, Microsoft Teams to a certain extent. So engagement is almost the same as with your regular 9 to 5 jobs. So nai-encourage naman sila. Some of them will go as far as visiting, allowing you to go to their country and do their team building. I've seen some folks in online na some freelancers working with Upwork, i-sponsor ng company nila yung visa na sa US, sa Japan, they would meet there and they would do teamwork, leadership, camaraderie building. Pagbalik nila sa mga bansa nila, it's as solid as like everybody else. It's just a matter of approaching it.
At saka communication din. Usually
Yeah.
kasi mga naririnig ko ng mga companies who also have remote team members, they really take the time na meron silang 1 hour each day o kaya kahit 1 hour each week na talaga nagkikita-kita sila online para they could talk to each other.
Recently, one of our employees, ito contractor to he's working with us. He's contractor. He was asked to go to Poland to interact with his counterpart. It was sponsored 100% by the employer. So it's
Ayun
almost
naman.
the same as like everything else. Pero the challenge is remote. Pero
Oo.
mind you, it's almost as solid as your regular 9 to 5 job engagement and culture building.
Okay, sabi po ni Joanne Literala, knowing that gig workers do experience the challenge of engagement,
Hindi, yan yung
how do
kanina
you
actually.
encourage teamwork, leadership, and commitment with people who only expect you for a short period of time? Parang kapareho siya nung kay Jeloni.
Oo nga. Oo.
Oo.
Pareho,
Parang may
actually. Yeah.
nagba-background ata. Nag-echo
Sorry.
ata ako.
Hindi, okay
Ayun.
lang. Okay lang. Like I said,
Okay.
it's the same. It's
Oo.
as solid
Ayun.
as like your regular 9 to 5 gigs. The approach may be different, but it's still, there's engagement, there's teamwork, you would feel your leaders that they're at your back and commitment. They're like everybody else. Sa typical 9 to 5 culture, may mga tao tayong pasaway, mga it's a different ball game when it comes to the gig economy.
Kahit na
They're
short
more
period
solid.
lang yung mga yan,
Yeah,
ano pa din,
sorry.
meron pa rin kayong, you still see each other pag kayo ay merong mga, meetings. So, nakakapag-usap-usap pa din. Nandun yung sa kung paano dadalhin nung kung sino man yung leaders nila or sino man yung mga manager. And how i-encourage yung ano nila, teamwork sa kanila.
Mm-mm-mm.
Okay?
Yeah,
Ayan.
side gigs. By the way, another term for gigs is hustle. Hindi po yung sayaw. It's hustle.
Ayan, oo, yung side hustle natin. Okay, next question po. As someone daw who has worked online, how do you stay productive and avoid distractions?
When working at home. For me, if I'm working with Upwork, there's a big brother looking at my work taking pictures of my activity every 10 minutes. Hindi ako makakalusot ton. Or Hubstaff. Hubstaff has their own system then. So as a freelancer or side hustle, you're conscious of your time because you need to deliver a number of hours there and somebody is taking notes. That's it.
Now, next question po. Do you as an HR practitioner encourage side gigs?
Yes. I am proof. I am more engaged because of the fact that I am doing some jobs na hindi ko normally ginagawa sa office. Like I said, policies and procedure, I don't do it much here. Handbook, may establish kami handbook. My side gig allows me to dwell on certain items in HR that I normally do not do in the office.
Ako naman iba ang sagot ko dyan. No, I don't. I don't encourage side gigs. Bakit?
Yeah.
Kasi you cannot serve two masters at once. Okay? Isa yan sa mga natutunan ko, you cannot serve two masters at once. Mahati yung attention mo. Kung marunong kang mag-handle ng pressure, walang problema. Pero pag hindi ka marunong mag-handle ng pressure, dalawa ngayon yung sources of pressure mo. Yung day job mo at yung side hustle mo. Okay? And no matter how good you are at compartmentalization, at some point, magpo-cross yung time mo for your day job dun sa time mo for your side hustle. Okay? So unless magaling ka talagang mag-compartmentalize, mag-manage ng time mo, at talagang very strict ka on which time is for which item is for which, may hirapan kang magkaroon ng side gig. So hindi ko yan basta, hindi ka nire-recommend. Okay? It will take a special person and a very focused person in order to do side gigs.
Meron ako yung isa. But right now, I don't do side gigs kasi COVID has been like a big monkey wrench as far as doing side gigs are concerned. Nagpo-full time kasi ako ngayon sa corporate ngayon. How should... Are we talking about CBA here?
Okay. May naka-open ka ba ng mobile phone? Ano ko eh?
Hindi, wala.
Okay.
Lalayo ko na lang. Sorry.
Meron ako narinig na feedback for some reason. So, kung naririnig niyo po na meron akong feedback, pasensya na po kayo.
Sorry po.
Hindi ko alam kung bakit nagkakaroon ng feedback.
I'm curious about this question actually, Michelle. Collective bargaining standards, are we talking about people under union?
Yeah. CBA eh.
To be honest, there is no such thing as a union in the gig economy as of my knowledge. You negotiate.
So,
hindi apply. You personally, you deal with them directly. Wala pong union doon. You deal with them directly, you set your standards, you set your rates, you set your expectation. That's it.
Pero kung ang question mo po, Michelle, ay kung pwede bang isama sa CBA na hindi dapat sila magkakaroon ng gig economy, maaari po yun. During negotiation, pag-usapan niyo po yun.
Kasi potential conflict of, like we said, it is a potential conflict of interest or moonlighting, which is a violation of the company rules. So,
for some reason, meron akong meron akong background. Nagdadala yung boses ko. I'm so sorry po. Sa time, doctor po ba, kailangan ba na aware yung employee na merong ganyang app na naka-install sa laptop or computer kasi may invade yung privacy po? Yes po, dapat po aware si employee kasi kahit pa paano, meron pa rin pong invasion of privacy. So, dapat aware sila dyan na meron pong time doctor ang kanilang mga laptop at the time doctor will take pictures randomly to check if they are doing their work.
If you're doing something private, mahuhuli po kayo. Yeah.
For working students, do you consider studying as a side hustle? Hindi po. Kasi pag sinabi natin side hustle, it's something na nag-earn ka ng pera. If it's something na dahil kailangan mo mag-aral, it's a different. Hindi po siya side hustle.
If you're asking if working students can do side hustles, yes.
You can do side hustles, pero ako, again, babalik tayo sa sinabi ko kanina, lalo na pag estudyante ka, focus ka muna sa pag-aaral mo kasi pag nawala yung focus mo sa pag-aaral, mahihirapan ka pa.
Oo.
Okay, so maganda na focus ka muna sa pag-aaral.
But surprisingly, I've seen some posts in Facebook na mga as early as 12, lower than 12 years old are doing this. As in, wow.
Ingat lang po tayo ha, kasi
ingat po kayo. Yun lang.
Meron po tayo, may labor law po tayo tungkol sa child labor, so ingat po tayo dyan. Sabi ni Miss May Mandokilo, I agree, you must not serve two masters at once.
Yes,
but before anyone misconstrues me, okay? Kasi at some point, I did also work at Odes. And I think, nung tayo una nagkakilala, di ba? Sa Odes.
Sa Odes.
Odes tayo una nagkakilala.
Hindi, sa Yahoo Group tayo nagkakilala. Tapos aware ako, nag-upload ako Odes ka na.
When I did Odes, when I did this online jobs, wala talaga ako ibang trabaho. meron lang akong business plus yung online job na yun. So yung
Okay.
gano'n, medyo kaya mo siyang i-balance kasi yung business, you have people doing that for you. Pero kasi nagtatrabaho ka, tapos may side gig ka, ang hirap niyang balansehin.
When I started doing all this, I was burned out. I don't want to work sa corporate that time. So I was able to do that. I was able to balance it at the same time. I define where my limits are. Normally, people do not know when to stop. So you need to do that on your own. Disiplina po ito.
Sabi ni Miss Chuchi Del Prado, agree. Also, it's an HR role to help our employees simplify needs and life. Yes po.
Yes.
Yun yung isang point ko kung bakit hindi ko nire-recommend na magkaroon kayo ng isa pang side gig. Okay? I'm not invalidating the trend na yung gig economy at some point it will be a normal. Okay? But if you are working 40 hours for one employer, tapos yung weekends mo ay ginagamit mo for your side gigs, wala ka ng oras para magpahinga. At wala ka ng oras para sa family mo, sa friends mo. So yun yung tatandaan nyo. Okay? Pero, for example, and I think this will be the trend in some future, in some distant future, this will be the trend. If, for example, you have multiple part-time jobs, posible pa. Let's say you have one job na Monday, Wednesday, Friday lang. And then you have another job that's Tuesday, Thursday. Posible mo mabalanse yun. Kasi may time ka pa rin to rest and recreate. Pero yung sasabihin mong 40 hours, nagtatrabaho ka for one employer and then your weekends is for your side gig, medyo mahirap siya. Mauubos yung oras nyo. Okay, so
Or you work, like I said, Upwork defines where your limits are. For example, 20 hours lang yan, 20 hours lang yan. And you have about 2 to 3 na ganon. If you're not working full-time as an employee, yes, it is possible. Kasi you working with various clients at one time, kaya yon. Pero if you're working full-time 40 hours and then you have this side gig, medyo you need to balance it out. Considering that I did it on my own, yes, ideal. Kasi ako sanay ako sa ganon. And plus at the same time, I was training for an aquathlon. So yeah, basag ang oras ko ng mga panahon na yon. Yeah.
Maganda yung sinabi ni Miss Shay Andanar. Sabi ni Miss Shay, limit your doings and disiplina po talaga.
Yes. It takes a
Correct.
lot of effort and discipline and self-control to do things simultaneously. Like I said, I'm the living proof of that system. And yeah, minsan hindi rin po healthy. Although yeah, I mind you, like I said earlier, I'm working full time 40 hours. I'm doing side gig 4 hours, and I am also doing that training before. Like I mentioned naman, I do aquathlon, so mahirap po i-balance po siya minsan. Pero nakaya
So,
ko.
wag niyo pong pahirapan yung sarili niyo, lalong-lalo na ngayon na COVID, tapos hindi naman tayo nakakalabas ng madalas or talaga super limited pa yung mga pagkilos natin. Kasi po, pag pinilit niyo pong pagsabay-sabayin yan lahat, mas lalo po kayong mababurn out. Lalo niyo lang pinapakumplika yung mga bagay-bagay. So, check niyo po muna ano yung kaya. Huwag kalimutang i-inform ang boss kung gusto niyo mag-side gig. Let's say kayo ay nagtatrabaho at gusto niyo maging financial advisor. Gusto niyo magtrabaho part-time for True Life, Film Life, Sun Life, at lahat na may life sa dulo. Kausapin niyo po muna yung boss niyo. I-discuss niyo po yan if it is allowed. Okay? Bago kayo magkaroon ng side gigs. HR, do not forget to have policies, procedures that will help ensure na protektado ang company. If your company is okay with having side gigs, okay, and side businesses and all of this other stuff, dapat meron po kayong policies and procedures to protect the company, company time, company assets, and the legal identity of the company. Lalo na kung involved sa pagsa-side gig ay yung HR mismo. Bakit po? Dahil pag kayo po bilang HR ay nagsa-side gig, tandaan niyo po, nare-represent nyo pa rin po yung full-time employer nyo. So you have to be careful with that. Kasi baka magkaroon ng misinterpretation pag kayo po ay nagbigay, let's say, ng opinion o kung ano pa man. baka madamay po yung inyo pong employer. Kaya nga po, kailangan careful po tayo diyan dahil right now po, medyo malaki pa po ang magiging impact niyan, sa ating mga trabaho, ayan.
Mm.
Sabi ni Miss Ameraisha Tawakin, thank you po, disiplina lang po talaga. Yes po, oo,
Yes,
disiplina lang.
totoo yun.
Ayan. Paano mo daw po mina-manage yung unpredictable income?
Oh, good question. Uh, Ako kasi, I save it right now, although admittedly ginagamit ko na rin. How do I do it? When I wanted to travel, I do side gigs to supplement my income
Mm.
or buy stocks. I just recently bought stocks out of my last gig.
Ay, oo, maganda yung stocks kung
Yes,
kayo po ay marunong
yeah, stocks.
bumasa ng stocks or kayo
So
po ay interesado, call financial po para
yeah,
mapag-aralan niyo kung paano po magkaroon ng stocks. Kasi yan, passive income yan. Hindi nyo
like
kailangan mamroblema dyan. Invest lang po kayo and you let the
invest.
money work on its own.
When I went to Hong Kong, one of the reasons why I went back to Society is I want to travel to Hong Kong on my own na hindi ako gagamit ng credit card. I did that thing and nagtuloy-tuloy po siya. If you want to have additional income, it's okay. As long as hindi nyo po kinukompromise yung katawan ninyo.
Okay. Sabi ni Lordil Paes, what are the types of jobs na mostly involved sa side gigs?
Virtual assistant, customer support, non-chat, HR. Pero most of the HR is more on recruitment, Boolean search, project management, madami, translation. Even YouTube is technically a side gig.
Uy, seryoso, meron akong side gig dati sa OTAS. Ang gagawin ko lang ay mag-click lang kung yes or no. So may mga
Yeah,
pinapakitang
yeah.
picture sa akin, if nagagandahan ako or nagagapuhan ako, kiklik ko lang yung yes or kiklik ko lang yung no. Kasi yung website na yun is ilo-launch pa lang siya, para siyang para
Mm-mm.
siyang Tinder. Eh since
Mm-mm.
ilo-launch pa lang siya, syempre kailangan nilang magmukha na madami ng subscribers. So ang
Yeah, yeah.
trabaho ko is gumawa ng profiles, tapos
Mm-mm.
each profile magla-like at kumbaga magso-swipe left, swipe right. So yun lang yung ginagawa ko. At ang laki ng
Oh,
bayad nila
yeah.
sa'kin.
Yung mga, if you're familiar with Jaisal De Vera, you should check her YouTube account because sometimes she shows apps na pwede kayong kumita ng extra. If not Bitcoin or Litecoin or yun the new the cyber
Cryptocurrency.
cryptocurrency. Marami. There are also tutorial apps na you can go chat with foreigners. I believe Cambly was one of them. Pero kasi
Oy,
wala rin ako.
ingat sa foreigners. Baka
Yeah.
ibang campo
Hindi,
ang
yung
mapunta ka.
tutorial. You teach
Ano
them
yun?
English. Oo,
Oo.
non-chat. Yeah, even the most discreet, basta yun, discreet.
Ayan.
Meron,
Sabi
marami
ni
actually. I'm just
Miss
telling you,
Ellen,
wag
sabi ni
daw
Miss Ellen Gonzalez, wag na nating stress ang ating mga sarili sa pagkakaroon ng side gigs, kaloka na. Yes, wag mong kakalimutang magpahinga. Okay?
Oo, oo.
Minsan, dahil sobrang gusto natin ng additional income, ang
Mm.
nasasakripisyo naman po natin ay yung katawan po natin. Hindi
Yeah,
rin po
totoo po yun. Masyadong malawak po ang gig economy, like I said. I'm just mentioning the tip of the iceberg here. As in, ganun pa po yun sa iceberg. Nandun po sa ilalim yung lahat. Ayan, I'm not even mentioning them right now because you'll be going crazy when you see that. Airbnb is technically a side gig in itself because you're renting apartments. Couch search is one. I'm just like telling you kung ano yung hindi pa, I'm not telling everybody what I saw yesterday. I wish I should have put it in the slide so you have an idea ano pa yung side branches po ng gig economy. It's big. It is.
Oo. Ang sabi ni Melchor Malana, with this pandemic, some employees are not in complete working hours right now. They are given specific sched. Is it all right? proceed or sideline to another job. Ang
Oo.
shortcut yung sagot ko po diyan, tanungin niyo po yung boss niyo kung pupuwede.
Oo, tanungin
Yun
po
ang
ninyo yung boss
pinakaimportante,
ninyo.
tanungin niyo po yung boss niyo kung pupuwede. Kasi kung kahit na sabihin namin puwede, kung yung boss niyo po ay hindi ina-allow yan, baka mamemohan lang po kayo. So, best na
Oo.
tanungin niyo yan yung boss niyo.
I do understand where you're coming from kasi one of the flexible working arrangements is reduced working hours and it is legal. Dole defined it as is. Wala, talaga mapipilitan po kayo maghanap ng iba pang trabaho para to supplement yung nawala po yung income. Like, but what we said, it would be a potential conflict po of interest pag hindi po pumayag yan at tinuloy nyo pa rin to. It has to be very, you have to be very specific sa employer ninyo na magsa-side gig po ko, okay lang po. Kung
Correct,
pumayag siya,
correct.
okay lang, go ahead. If not, sorry, you have to stick to your working hours.
Correct. Okay. Time management is the key, sabi ni Tess Reyes, if you want to engage for another job, which is correct. Okay?
Yes, totoo
Time
yan.
management kung gusto niyo po.
You
Okay?
need to devote time and effort to make a balance.
Okay, sabi naman ni Joy Arcilla, thank you so much. This really defines the importance of time management. Yan.
Mm-mm-mm.
Sabi ni Lordil Paes, the side gig workers have big impact in our economy.
Yes.
Right now po
Import,
actually.
yes.
Hindi nyo,
Yes.
hindi natin napapansin kasi nasanay na tayo, pero kung kunwari yung mga nagbebenta ng halaman, nagbebenta ng libro, nagbebenta ng essential living ba yun? Yung essential. Yung mga
Oh,
oils,
yun.
side
Oils,
gigs
yeah.
po yung mga yan. Side gigs po yung
And
mga yan.
And like I said, I think you saw my infographics in the how much income one particular industry is earning. Kung nagpapasok po kami ng dollars, although dumarating din dito in peso, pero you earn dollars, you earn UK pounds, whatever currency you agreed with the employer comes to the Philippines, although it's already converted to peso. On the average, I think when I was working with this project in Australia, I was earning around 20,000 pesos per week. And Upwork weekly po ang sweldo po niyan. It's like the underground economy of formal employment. Kumbaga sa, di ba, ang palengke, ang tindahan, underground economy. This is the underground economy of formal work.
Sabi po ni Farida Kunanan, ingat lang, baka scam, networking, kasama sa gig economy. Depende po. Kasi pag
Depende.
sinabi nating networking, meron pong mga multi-level marketing. Yun po kasi talaga yung tamang, yun yung iniisip natin pag sinabing networking. Hindi po yun ang tamang definition ng networking. Pero it's medyo iba yung pagkakaintindihan. Yung multi-level marketing po, mayroon pong version yan na legit. So for example, si Avon, si Ang
Avon is one.
Essentials,
Yeah.
si Sana, sino pa ba yung isa?
Personal collection.
Personal collection. MLM po yung mga yan.
Kasi legit.
Marikina Show Exchange, but they
Yeah.
are legitimate. Okay? Kasi ang aim po nila ay hindi magdagdag ng tao, ang aim po nila ay magbenta ng product. Doon sila nakafocus sa product. Meron ka lang additional incentive pag nakapag-refer ka na magbebenta din. Pero ang aim nila is mabenta yung product. Pag ang aim ay magdagdag ng tao instead of a product, yaan po ang hindi legit. Okay? Doon po
Like I
kayo
said,
mag-ingat kasi Ponzi scheme po yun.
like I said, may mga manloloko rin po sa freelancing world, sa Upwork. Di ba, ang warning ko sa inyo, if you're gonna do something like this, make sure po na may proof po doon na nagbabayad po yung employer o verified yung employer. Pag hindi po verified yan at sinasabing sa labas natin po sa Upwork o sa freelancer, wag po kayong papayag. Manloloko po yan.
So ingat-ingat po kayo. Yung mga platforms po na proven na po na okay for any side gigs, yan po Upwork, pero medyo ano ngayon, medyo hindi na ng competition. Antindi na ng competition sa Upwork, dami na kasi nag-a-apply doon. So Upwork, freelancer,
Guru.
people per hour, guru, matuto lang po kayong tumingin. Okay, wag lang po basta
Online.
sumbab.
Saka meron ding website, ang pangalan niya is onlinejobs.ph. Although there are questionable things about it kasi masyado mababa po yung rate na ino-offer niya sa Pilipino. Minamalit daw yung Pilipino. But nonetheless, it is a legitimate job posting website
Mm.
for the
Okay,
freelancing community.
sabi ni Aris, unpopular opinion. Natakpan na tayo. Unpopular opinion on ensuring that employees deliver what's expected of them while working from home. Currently, my company, in spite of being an IT company, do not use any apps to monitor employees. Instead, it was made clear to the employees what's expected of them at the end of the week. As long as deadlines are met and quality work is delivered, it doesn't really matter much if the employees are seated in front of their laptops 40 hours a week. At the end of the day, it's the end results that matter most. Trusting that employees will deliver will beat any productivity application. Yes, I agree. I
Yes.
agree, Aris. I agree 100%. Kasi um, if let's say you have time doctor, you have all of this, you're preventing them from logging into a website.
Mm-mm.
Sinasakal mo lang sila. And alam naman natin that when someone ay nasasakal, ang tendency niyan ay to resist. But
And
if you
rebel.
would, yes, if you would let it go and give them accountability for their actions, mas maluwag yung dating sa kanila. Mas innate ngayon yung kanilang commitment to make sure that the assets are only used for company time at kahit na 40 hours yan, natatapos pa rin nila kung anong kailangan nilang gawin. Okay, trust is very important. So if you have employees working from home, make sure that they feel yung trust nyo sa kanila para hindi sila nagtatago pa sa inyo. Kasi the more na sinasakal nyo sila, the more na maglilihim yan. Parang bata, di ba? But the more na
Accountability,
pinagpapawalan
yeah.
mo, lalong magtatago yan.
You need to make them aware of their accountability to the company. Baga, don't pressure them to work 40 hours a day kung kaya naman nilang gawin yon in less than 8 hours. Just make them on call. Baga, like I said, pag natapos, then on call na sila. If there are urgent matters, then you trust your people to do their job. Yung kahit bantayan niya ng kahit anong app, kung ganun yung attitude nyo towards the employee, they would feel it and they would definitely will not be comfortable working with you. Ganun na kasimple sa
Correct.
akin yun eh.
Okay. Sabi ni Miss Olga, di naman po lahat ng networking scam. Yes, hindi po lahat ng
Hindi,
networking
hindi.
scam. Tulad nga ng sabi natin, 'di ba? Sila Tupperware. Si Tupperware pa yung nagsimula niyan eh. Tupperware, Avon, yan yung mga nauna eh. Networking din
Mm-mm.
po yung mga yan. Okay, multi-level marketing. Networking din po yung mga yan. Pero again, pagdating dyan sa mga yan, ang focus is sa product. Pag ang focus ay hindi na yung product, ayan, dyan na po kayo magdalawang isip. Okay? Do you think side gig workers deserve to have benefits from their employers? Depende po sa
Like,
employer. Actually, may employers akong alam na nagbibigay sila ng benefits. Oo,
yeah.
meron ako isang attendee dati nung isa sa mga webinar ng Uprush na ano siya, mga gigs na hinahawakan niya kasi isa siyang remote virtual worker siya.
Yeah.
So, yung boss niya na nasa Singapore, hinover yung SSS niya. SSS PhilHealth Pag-ibig. Yun. So, may gano'n. Tapos may mga binibigay din sa kanya na benefits na similar doon sa benefits ng 9 to 5 na or 8 to 5 na business.
Bihira
Yun.
lang actually yung magbigay ng benefit. It's mostly the side gig or the person doing freelance work will have to cover for everything. But some of them do provide, minsan may nakikita ko nagpapadala ng computer. I think there was a story na nasira yung computer niya and he told the employer, sorry po, wala na po akong computer. Can you give me a week to get a computer? And then suddenly, no, I'll be covering for that. In 3 weeks time, she got her new computer. Some of them do travel. Some of them were sponsored. And eventually, some companies, as in, nilalabas na sila literally sa Upwork platform. This is legit. Hinahire na sila directly. So, some of them do cover for everything. But these are rare and in-between na success stories.
Yes. Tulad nga
Most
ng
of the
sabi
time,
ni Miss
wala.
Tulad nga ng sabi ni Miss Jen Torrente, Benefits sa side gigs and or freelancing, depending po yan sa magiging agreement nyo ng client. Ayan. Which is true naman po. Nakadepende po talaga yan sa agreement nyo ng client. Ayan. As I think nasagot na po natin lahat po ng
Any
mga
other question
questions
pa?
po. Oo, ng ating mga viewers right now. Wala na po tayong mga nakalimutan pa na sagutin pa dito. Okay? So, bago po namin kayo pabayaan na i-enjoy ang inyo pong rest day, i-flash ko lang po ulit yung atin pong QR code para kayo po ay makapag-request ng certificate. So kung kayo po ay nanonood, use your cellphone po para i-scan po ang QR code na ito, or you can head to the link. Ipopost po namin mamaya yan link na yan doon sa atin pong event page. Hindi po sa Facebook page, hanapin nyo po yung event page. Punta po kayo ng Apprash, click the events, look for free webinar, HR and the gig economy. Doon po namin ilalagay yung link for the certificate, request for certificate, request for video, and request for the slides. People, 5 to 7 working days po from receipt ng inyong request. So kung ngayon po ay 24, start po kayong magbilang on Monday. Kasi Mondays to Fridays lang po ang aming trabaho. Kailangan magpahinga ng aking mga babies sa aming opisina. Kaya 5 to 7 working days lang po. Baka sakalin ako pag pinagod ko yung mga yan dahil marami din po silang ginagawa. Okay po? Make sure po that your name and your email address is inputted correctly para hindi naman po magkakaroon ng problem pag generate na po namin ang inyo pong certificate. Those who are looking for their certificates for last Saturday, hintay lang po kayo. So baka by Tuesday po, ma-receive nyo na po yan. 5 to 7 working days po tayo. Okay? Again, invite ko lang po kayo dun sa ating mga free and paid webinars po next Saturday po. Maganda po ulit ang ating topic, role of gamification naman in HR. So ito yung mga bagay-bagay na talaga namang bago sa pandinig ng HR at mga trends po globally na dapat nako-consider natin bilang mga HR professionals. Ayan. So we'll see all of you again next Saturday, same time, same place. Tambay-tambay po ulit sa page ng Uprash, sa group po ng Society for the Advancement of HR in the Philippines, at sa Philippines HR Group po, the largest Facebook group of HR professionals. Ayan po, promise, ako ay excited for next week dahil international po again ang ating guest for next week. Mapapalaban na naman ako nito ng aking English. Ayan.
Patay.
So wag po natin wag po nating kalimutan na tumambay po ulit dito next week. Hanggang sa susunod po, maraming salamat po at enjoy your weekend. Happy weekend everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.